Hey, hey. We're back from FinOps X. Exciting times. Hey, Rick, how's it going?
Doing great. Hi, Steph.
I'm loving. You've actually got double swag on. You've committed to the request from me to wear some swag.
Yeah, so I have the FinOps shirt, which all the attendees got, and I also have this side, the hoodie, which was for governing board and TAC members. So, and it's pretty nice. It's a little oversized. So the sizing was a little strange, but it's nice. They swagged everybody up pretty good this year at FinOps X.
They did. Speaker's got, and I've got it in front of me, don't spill it, the very nice Yeti FinOps water bottle. I went for a real purple theme. I got some sunnies. There's a pinky purpley new Fox I've committed to the swag. If anybody wants to see, I posted a picture on LinkedIn of all the swag I got. I even ran away with one of the pillows. I'm sure Jess didn't mind, but there were pillows going spare, and I was like, I've got to have one of these because it will look so cool in the office. Eric said shirt and jacket, nice. Yeah, he really committed. Love it. Okay, well, let's get into the show. So welcome everyone to the Keys to AWS Optimization, the show we share stories, concepts, and solutions to help you unlock your spend at AWS. My name is Steph Gooch, and I'm a Senior Optimization Architect Advocate at AWS, here to help you with all your FinOps questions and your journey. And I have Rick, who's been on many times, but Rick, do you want to say your name and title up for everyone here?
Absolutely. So I'm Rick Oakes. I lead the product management team for all of our optimization tooling here at AWS. So that includes things like Cost Optimization Hub, Compute Optimizer, Savings Plans, RIs, everybody's favorite topic. So
yes, exactly. All the fun tools. And so with that in mind, we're going to be talking about FinOps X, which is the big FinOps conference we went to last week, a bit high level kind of stuff on that. Then we're going to look at the amazing announcements that were put out and kind of deep dive into some of those. And then after that, we've got Yuri and Zach coming on to talk about Focus Dashboard that's just been released and do a demo of that. So make sure you stick around to the end. And don't forget, we've always got our secret Richard summary so you can find out all the fun little quirky things I have to say at the end of the episode. But let's kick off. We already mentioned swag. I'm going to shout out Alex, who disappeared for a second, who made this amazing optics jacket, which I was seen wearing a lot at the event. Just how cool is she? And I'm going to go for the best piece of swag I got, which was a multi-tool, like an Allen key multi-tool. I feel like we've moved away from the days of the fidget spinner into this kind of selection. So very impressive.
That's pretty cool. And it was interesting to see the entire optics team with all the coats because I didn't realize how many optics people were there, which was amazing, by the way.
Yeah.
It was so awesome that the AWS booth was staffed with, 300 level, FinOps experts every minute of every day during the conference. It was really cool.
Yeah, shout out to the amazing team. I'll throw them up here. So we had me, Scotty, Connor, Adam, that's John Phillips, and Alex and Catherine all there representing optics. And yeah, it was really fun being on the booth. So thank you everybody who came up and said hi, who watched the show. It was lovely to meet so many of you. And that was just a great experience, as always, kind of meeting people, chatting to people, learning good stuff about their journeys and how the show has helped them or things they want to see on the show. So lots of great insight. But on that, Rick, what was kind of one of the big things you saw coming from the conference? Any really good conversations you had or sessions you went to that you want to share with everyone?
Yeah, I think high level, it was really fascinating how forecasting is getting better across the industry. It was a big conversation at the conference. It was a big conversation last year at the conference as well. But the difference, there was a maturity difference between last year and this year on forecasting. Last year, people were like, yeah, we do some yearly forecasting. Like we have a number for next year. This time they're like, hey, we do weekly forecasting by business unit, by app, and we roll it up. So some pretty tremendous forecasting examples of different companies that have really defined what mature forecasting looks like. So I thought that was a fascinating maturity to observe across the industry. Also, AI has everybody kind of spinning. AI and GPU instances are just really expensive. And so doing FinOps on AI, and then of course the counter discussion, which is using AI to help solve FinOps use cases, which is actually something we've invested in ourselves with our Q for CFM launch. But to see leaning in the FinOps community on both of those conversations is really exciting.
Yeah, in JR's keynote. And if you did watch any of it, I recommend kind of checking out the keynote if you can on demand. And all the sessions, the breakout sessions were recorded and so will be available, including mine and Rick's, and as well as Zach and Jimmy's. They'll be available after, so check that out. And if you want to hear about the Disney one, about forecasting, I believe Disney did a really good talk on that, so make sure you bookmark that. But yeah, you're right. I think it was, wasn't it, FinOps for Gen AI and Gen AI for FinOps was a really good way of describing it. I already messaged JR to be like, who came up with that? Can I have them on the show? So we're going to try and get somebody to come on and chat a little bit about that later.
You know what was interesting, actually, when in our lead up to X, James Greenfield and John Phillips were making that case with JR in our prep conversations to make sure we bifurcated the conversation. So they were brainstorming a lot of these things together for months before the conference to kind of figure out how do we get really crisp on the use cases. And I thought that was fascinating because when James was up on stage during the day one keynote, he talked about that. He talked about like, hey, we need to be clear on the use cases because we don't want to just apply AI everywhere. We want to apply the right tool for the right job. And so sometimes it's not the right tool, sometimes it is the right tool, but really identifying what is the right technology in these various scenarios is still an important part of what we do. And we don't want to lose the business value of the use cases we've already developed for and already have a lot of technology for at the same time. But at the same time, maybe AI can enrich them. So we're at a really interesting time in the industry where there's a lot of creativity that we can apply to these use cases.
Yeah, it was nice that it wasn't the forefront of every conversation as well, because I feel like at the moment, I think there was a bit of a joke around how much people are talking about Gen AI and how, especially in the world of FinOps, we feel like we have so many other things and you got thrown Gen AI as well. And it's something else to deal with, especially like you said, the cost. So it's exciting to see that we were able to talk about lots of different things and lots of different topics. But I'm sure in the future we'll be doing some more AI chats because
I'm sure. But I appreciated hearing that from James. Like, so James is my VP. He's 2 levels above me, and he sets the tone for our organization. And so when he comes out on stage and talks about the importance of AI, but about being measured and meaningful and precise on the use cases, it's sort of a relief. It's a relief for me because, we in my team, we've used AI since the day I started. I mean, all the recommendations use machine learning, like we use it every day. So to have that conversation about saying like, let's not smear it everywhere here, like it's a relief.
Yeah, definitely. And so let's have a little see who's in the chat. Share the screen. Let's go for this. All right. So 1 for yes, 2 for no. Who was at FinOpsX? For people in the chat, 1 for yes, 2 for no. Let us know if you actually went. I know that Cosplayer, who is here, Cosplayer says it was awesome. It was awesome at FinOpsX. Got to meet them, which was amazing. Love seeing people in real life. So yeah, a bunch of people are watching when kind of mixed bag. So hopefully, if you didn't go, we can give you a bit of a flavor of what some of the amazing announcements that happened with, which is a nice little segue into that. So Rick, were there 3, 4? I've now
3.5. I'll say 3.5.
Go for it. So 3.5 announcements. Would you want to hit us up with the first one?
Yeah. So I'm going to start with my teams, just selfishly.
Obviously.
so my team launched a new right-sizing recommendation at FinOpsX. And it's a very cool recommendation. It's a full featured recommendation. So we now support right-sizing for RDS. And this includes MySQL and PostgreSQL. And so now in Compute Optimizer, if you already have it enabled, you can go there and you'll see recommendations already showing up now to right-size these different RDS instance types. And what's really cool about that with this launch is that we learned a lot from previous launches with our EC2 right-sizing. We learned that customers want to adjust the look-back period. So we launched this with adjustable look-back period. We learned that customers want the recommendations to be RI aware and savings plan aware, in this case, RIs. So we launched with RI awareness. So as we've gone through this process of building these RDS recommendations, we've taken some of these tricks and lessons learned and feature improvements, and we launched V1.0 of RDS recommendations with these capabilities. So there's a lot more out of the box capability that you can just go look at the recommendations and execute, and you have no risk of abandoning an RI or experiencing a performance issue. We also launched with integration with RDS Performance Insights. So if you turn on Performance Insights, we'll get additional data in the recommendation, which is really cool. Things like swap and DB load, some other really cool pieces of data in the recommendation to help your DBAs look at the recommendations and go, oh yeah, okay, this recommendation makes sense. Do the validation step, right? And lastly, we also launched this with storage recommendations built in. And this is great because storage recommendations, you don't really have to worry about RIs or flexibility there. It's going to look at IOPS and throughput and all of these different metrics for your storage that's configured and attached to your RDS instances, and then recommend you change the provision IOPS or move storage type from GP2 to GP3, things like that. And those are fun because there's no downtime, right? So you can just go mass execute those. So it's a very complete feature as far as all of the different add-ons and visibility elements to it. So we're really excited about this launch. We heard at FinOpsX a lot of customers come up and say, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Like we want to optimize RDS more. We know databases are sensitive and we have to be careful. And so we want a safe way to do it. So yeah, we're excited to hear as more customers work with the feature. We did a really awesome beta. We worked with some really key FinOps customers that are deep into optimization to test these recommendations and for quality, safety, accuracy, so on and so forth. So we got some great feedback through the beta, and now we're excited for everybody to use it.
Amazing. And it's one of those things, like you said, RDS, I feel like we touch on RDS a little bit when it comes to, we talk about it a lot with Graviton, quite a lot. And we also talk about it a lot with stopping RDS. Really, they're like the two key optimizations I feel like we cover, because even in those are the RDS for Graviton feels like the one that we achieve the most with customers. Like I'm doing something at the moment with the customer, and it's great. You guys know I love this. When I see Cost Explorer just go up and up, and the Graviton usage and the Intel go down, is amazing. And as we all know, it's more efficient and it costs less, so it's great. And the other side of stopping them, and I think people often forget that as an optimization, where we'll look at people using Instance Scheduler and they will be going up and down, and then RDS is just flat in non-production, and you're like,
wow. RDS is they tend to be like more long-lived, right? Like you don't provision a database. Actually, a customer said this to me and I loved it. I'm going to reuse it. You don't provision a database to test something out for an hour and then delete it. So it's a little different than EC2, where people can spin up some instances, try something out, delete it, or have a CI/CD integration where it gets rebuilt every few minutes. RDS is a lot more steady state. And honestly, that makes the recommendations even better because you can have on average longer look back periods too. And what's cool is the Graviton analysis is baked into the right size recommendation.
Oh, amazing.
So we don't really consider the move to Graviton as like a separate idea. We think of right sizing kind of in the same mechanism as modernization and migration to newer, advanced technologies like Graviton or whatever, because it's the same math problem. It might have like a different texture to it because you're changing a CPU type, going to ARM or something like that. But the math and science behind how you pick an instance size is the same. So like internally we call it right sizing, but we do show in Cost Optimization Hub, you can pick, hey, show me the Graviton migrations versus the right sizing. So you can kind of bifurcate depending on how you think about it. But as we design the feature, we kind of think about it all inclusive.
And does it take into consideration the engine version that customers are on with RDS to move to Graviton, or is it if you're using something like Postgres, it's like, yes, you can just move?
So it checks compatibility for Graviton when it makes the recommendation. It's exciting because the move to Graviton takes far less architectural analysis than with something like an EC2 move to Graviton, right? So, so it's much more accessible savings with Graviton on RDS than EC2, where you have to kind of look at the application that's running and say, like, is this compatible, right? And that amount of engineering effort, we hear from customers sometimes they don't have time or capacity to do that.
Perfect. And I think this is a question. So can you toggle between staying in an instance family or allow recommendations across instance family? So obviously it will show you all the different ones.
Good question. So we give 3 options in the recommendation result. We tell you what you're on currently, and then there's 3 different options for potential. If you're looking to stay in the same instance family because you have RIs, that's already factored in. So you don't really have to worry about that from a recommendation accuracy perspective. So I don't have like a switch to keep it on same instance family. It's just that we've already factored that use case into the recommendations. Right. And then because we have to show you 3 options, you're typically going to see something that, more aligns with what you're on. We also actually don't provide downsize recommendations for memory capacity.
Right.
And that's because query performance is highly linked to memory capacity. And so you'll notice that you'll actually won't see downsize recommendations that reduce memory capacity. We will show you the memory usage and swap and some other statistics like that. So if you wish to downsize memory, you are free to do so. And we pulled all the metrics together into a single page so you can make that determination.
Mm-hmm.
But you will not actually see downsize on the same family because that would reduce memory capacity. And the recommendations are designed to be extremely safe, extremely accurate. So you can take these without losing sleep at night, right? These are fairly bulletproof.
And I guess one thing as well that, and correct me if I'm wrong in this, because obviously when you do EC2, you can install the memory metric CloudWatch agent, and that will push memory. And that, as you've been on here to say before, will increase the optimization, often the range you can save, but also give you a kind of more granular level of reasons why, and that provides more data. So with RDS, is that all just done for you because it's all managed by AWS?
Yeah, we get the memory metrics, but if you want downsizes, like the RDS Performance Insights feature, and installing that, and there's a free tier for it, so you can just use that. But that gives us the stronger data set for swap in, swap out, for example, for DB load. And so those extra metrics are pretty valuable for us to use to make a recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
But we do the same thing with EC2, where if we don't, like on EC2, if we don't have memory data, we won't downsize memory.
Yeah.
So if we don't have RDS Performance Insights, we won't downsize the size.
Okay, that makes sense.
So we're only making recommendations where we have extreme confidence, where we know this is like bulletproof, it's safe, go for it. And we're not limited on that for like the storage recommendations and other things like that. But for CPU downsize, having RDS Performance Insights is really helpful.
Amazing. Okay, so any other questions, put them in the chat. And if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to hit that like and leave any comments you have on there. I always reply to anything anybody has. Rick, next announcement.
So next we have Cost Optimization Hub exports. So if you've used Cost Optimization Hub before, first off, if you haven't, go try it out. In the Billing and Cost Management console, there is a Cost Optimization Hub product. It's on the left nav in the Billing and Cost Management console. It says Cost Optimization Hub. Click on it. You have to opt in. Please opt in, because when you opt in, it goes around and collects all of the recommendations from across all the different products that help give you optimization recommendations. So it'll get the savings plan recommendations, RI recommendations, the compute optimizer recommendations, idle recommendations, pulls them all in to one product, one page experience. And we heard from customers, okay, this is great. You aggregated all of this for me. One of the neat tricks of Hub is that it deduplicates the savings amount.
Mm-hmm.
That's important. A lot of customers use third-party products where they build their own products for identifying savings. And it's really easy to overstate your savings, because if you count if you count your savings from all your savings plan recommendations and all of your delete idle cleanup recommendations, then you add them together, it may be higher than your bill.
Yeah, people don't. I don't know why people don't get that sometimes, because we'll have reports that are like, here are all the ways you can save, and then I see people, like you said, add it all up, and I'm like, no, do you not? Those like cancel each other. These are options individually. Like, there's no sum. Please stop summing.
So Cost Optimization Hub deduplicates it, and it has a fairly advanced logic to do that too. We have like an advanced logic tree that identifies the safest and lowest hanging fruit deduplication of the savings data. So we're not going to tell you how much savings you're going to get from a savings plan if a resource is idle, because we think you should delete it. And so the idle recommendation exists. Now you can filter it and pick and choose which recommendations you want to see, and then the deduplication will update based on that, which is really cool. But with this new feature, you can now export all of the Cost Optimization Hub recommendations in a unified schema. Because we heard from customers, we like COH, but we already have our own dashboards. We already have our own reporting tools. So this is important to us because where customers already have extensive engineering investment in building cost optimization or cost reporting within their own business structure, or they're using third-party tools or QuickSight or something like that, which you'll see later in this episode, enriching those with consolidated and deduplicated recommendations, which then you can merge with like org, so you can do it by business unit, or application, or other really cool ideas like that. The creativity of customers shows no bounds. I love having a conversation with customers and they show me some of the stuff they build on top of the recommendations we deliver. And it's like really humbling how cool they can make the visualizations look. So for us, it's really important that we can offer this data to our customers in an exportable fashion where you don't have to call all of the APIs regionally. Oh, no, it's my cat.
Oh, hello. Oh my God, fairy guest.
This is Nala.
Hi, Nala. Sorry, so distracted by anytime a pet wants to come on the show, we love it. Honorary FinOps members of the animals are people who come on.
If she knew everybody was watching, she would put it on.
Yes, that's why. Yeah.
So customers are taking the cost optimization hub data and building their own dashboards. So this data export, so if you go to the billing cost management console and you go to the data export section of the console, you'll see a new export type called Cost Optimization Hub, and it's going to give you all of the recommendations across all regions, across all accounts in your payer, everything into a single export file. That is so much easier to use. And we heard from customers like, yeah, we can get access to this data via API, but I don't want to go build an API scraper type tool or product to go gather all that data. So here you have it all in a single file. It refreshes every day. So the recommendations essentially always match the Cost Optimization Hub console UI. So there's never a mismatch between the two. And you can please take the data, use it, build things with it. Come show us. I'm excited to see what people do with it.
Good shout. If you do something fun, email us, costoptimization@amazon.com. We'd love to know. Yeah, it's really cool. People go off and they're like, oh, I did this and I put this logic in it. Especially if you made it personal to you, I think it's the best stories where people have like you said, using business units or adding some more flair to it. So you're like, this is what I actually did with it. Just some comments, Costlayer. I'll bring my chocolate lab and 2 cats. That's a promise, not a threat. To bring in some more pets. I love it.
Very nice.
Exactly. So anything else on the cost optimization?
So what's really cool about all of the different export features that Zach built, Zach's coming on the show in a few minutes, but you can pick and choose the columns you want in the export. That is so cool. And Kurt 2.0 does this. Some other features do this that we'll talk about in a few minutes. So you can curate and customize your data export to behave exactly how you want. And an example is for Hub, you can pick if you want the deduplicated costs or the full savings amount from each recommendation by itself. So if you look at how we do deduplication and you have a different way that maybe it works better for your business, for example, you can export all of the recommendations with their full savings amount as if they did not sit right next to each other. And you can apply your own deduplication potentially, right? Would not surprise me if some customers have some brilliant ideas around how they think about the application of recommendations in what order. So we heard from customers, like a lot of customers love deduplication, but we wanted to still provide that option to see the fully burdened savings amount for recommendations for customers that maybe only want to look at one recommendation at a time and understand its total economic impact. So that's another cool capability that we worked hard to solve. Zach's team works hard to solve, and my team. We worked across multiple teams to get this one done.
Amazing.
It's always fun. It's always fun to work across boundaries and together.
Yeah. So we've got like 10 minutes before I bring the other guys on. Do you want to show either of the things you just spoke about before we go into the last one?
Let me let's do it.
Bring
Give me 1 second to swap my screen around so I don't have this crazy aspect ratio issue going on.
But yeah, in the chat, let us know. I'll do a while Rick's doing that, why don't I do a quick poll? Who has enabled Cost Optimization Hub? 1 for yes, 2 for no. I'd be keen to know, because I think we were surprised that some people haven't still, and I'm like, get out there and enable it. It's a click of a button, and you should. Oh, look, everybody in the chat has done it. Well done. The fans of this show know what they're doing. Amazing. That's what we want to see. All right, let's flick over to Rick. Let's have a look what we got on here.
All right, so we're looking here at Compute Optimizer. And immediately, if you go to Compute Optimizer today, you'll see some new things. You'll immediately see we have RDS-DB instances in here. You also now have RDS-DB instance storage in here. So these will already show up for you if you have Compute Optimizer enabled. If you have Cost Optimization Hub enabled, they will show up there too. So we launched this new recommendation engine actually in 2 places at the same time, both Compute Optimizer and Cost Optimization Hub. We're really excited about that. Again, very full-featured launch for us. So let's go into the new DB instances here. So here I've got some recommendations. I'll let them load here. I've got some oversized. So you know, I always have to have some of these for demos and things like that, but it always makes my skin crawl when I see a bunch of waste in my own environment.
Yes,
so let's grab one of these. So I have a default look back period of 14 days. You can configure that to 32 days for free, by the way, or 93 days for a cost about 25 cents per workload. So let's take a look at this. So this recommendation is going to an R6i 2 extra large from an M5. So we see actually it's going from an M to an R. What that means is the CPU capacity is dropping in half, but the memory is staying the same. And then we can look at the CPU. We see CPU is fairly low with a single spike. But after you take the recommendation, it'll go up somewhat because we're lowering the CPU capacity. But then we can also look at DB load, memory utilization, and swap. I love swap. It's such a cool piece of information for DBAs. So again, you can hand this to DBAs and say, hey, look at this recommendation. And they have all of the data in a single screen that they could ever want to make a science decision. And what's really cool is if you change the look back period, you go to say 14 days or something like that, or 32 days, these graphs all update. So you can see 32 days of historical utilization for spikes and peaks. Although spikes and peaks are accounted in the recommendation, so you don't have to worry about like you know, a 30-minute session on the weekends that you need to size for, and it's very important. The recommendation will account for that and factor it in. So here, here's a recommendation. You also see at the top, here's the instance, and here's the storage for this instance. Yeah, so let's look at the storage recommendation. This instance, we're on IO1. We have provisioned IOPS, and we can save $120 a month. That's not too shabby. And it says at 2,500 IOPS, and I can go down to 1,300 IOPS safely. So this is a kind of a common scenario where we see people set IOPS amounts that are very safe and conservative because you maybe don't necessarily know what the right IOPS setting is out of the gate because maybe you haven't run the workload before, or you're not sure kind of what its pattern is going to look like. So once you can get a good look at what amount of IOPS is actually getting used, then you can use something like a recommendation tool like this to understand, hey, where should I have my IOPS information set?
Yeah, amazing. And we've got question quickly. What is swapping out?
Oh, great question. Oh, okay. I guess I sort of passed over that, assuming people knew. So I apologize. But whenever you're so this applies to EC2, basically any sort of instance running. Whenever you run out of memory or get close to running out of memory, it'll actually make a copy of whatever's in memory and save it to the hard drive or solid state drive in this case.
Okay.
And swapping is when it changes data out from the memory back to your hard drive or solid state drive, like your C drive or D drive or whatever. And that's very slow because memory is super fast and hard storage is much slower. It's 10 to 100 times slower than memory. And so you don't really want to do a whole lot of swapping. And so if we see a lot of swapping, we know that the machine is busy copying files to and from memory instead of doing its job. So we typically don't like to see a whole lot of swap. A little bit's okay because maybe there's something in memory that hasn't been touched for a really long time. Moving that to swap may be okay. But we can look at this and kind of get an indication of how this workload is running, if it's using too much memory, if there's a lot of swapping happening. We know that this thing probably doesn't have enough memory, for example. So if there's a ton of swap, you will see an upsize recommendation to go add more memory to the instance to get rid of this really damaging swap behavior on the instance.
Did you say that you could see swap in here?
Yeah. So let me show you. Let's go back to the instance right size recommendation. You have swap in kilobytes, which is nothing for this, and swap out. So you can tell how often something is swapping into the memory or swapping out of the memory. And it's really cool because you can look at these patterns. And again, mostly like for DBAs or advanced performance engineers, they can look at the swap and they'll instantly get a good sense of what is this machine doing? Is it happy? Is it angry? Does it need more memory? Is it totally fine on memory? In this case, our swap is 0, right? So it's not moving things in and out of memory pretty much ever,
right?
At least in the look back period. So this is one where you could safely reduce memory if you wish. The recommendation doesn't tell you to do that because we can't guarantee the performance won't degrade. But this is something where we see utilization of memory around 31, 32%. You could reduce the memory size on this thing yourself if you wished, with pretty little risk, especially considering DB load is low, there's no swap.
Cool. All right, let me take this down. So a couple of questions. Well, Zach says M Series Max. Yeah. M Series Max rocket swap. So that's good to know. You want M1. And Travis says thank you for clarifying.
They have some pretty cool. Awesome.
And Zach, when you had the list of all the optimization, it's like clearing the inbox, do all the recommendations. I think that's good advice. Just get it down. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to look at it anymore. Okay, so before we move on to Zach and Yuri talking about the dashboard, we have the one more announcement about the topic. Do you want to go into that last one?
So the last announcement we have, and this is a great lead in to having Zach and Yuri on the call, is we announced support for the FinOps Foundation's Focus 1.0 GA schema. Now we're calling it Focus Support in Preview. And as we continue to work to develop this, right, this is going to be important for us to work with our customers and continue to iterate, especially since the foundation will design a 1.1 spec and then a 1.2 spec. And those timelines are actually already set by the foundation. But this is a really cool feature because now you can export your cost and usage data in the Focus 1.0 GA spec schema. And it's different. It's different than Kerr. It's got some different definitions and thinking behind it. And we've heard from customers that customers really want Kerr in this Focus schema because other companies are also building exports on this schema. So it's much easier to merge these data sets together. And you don't have to do a lot of work to figure out how do I convert this Kerr data set to another company's data set and so on and so forth. You can standardize all of these different exports into a single data lake or single data repository. And it gets much easier to do cost reporting across multiple dimensions. If you're using like third-party products that have cost structures versus AWS, it just, again, should just simplify a lot of lives when Focus is involved. Now, there's actually also 5 additional columns that were added. I spent some time with Zach last week at the conference and asked him about these. Maybe it's something that Zach can explain a little bit more, but the team had this really cool thought that, hey, the Focus schema provides lots of great data, but we want more granularity. So we added 5 additional fields. 4 of them have added granularity on top of the Focus 1.0 spec. So that way you can dive a little deeper into costs beneath the service layer. So pretty cool stuff. Really impressed with Zach, his team's work, the engineering team's work. And I'm excited to see where customers take this as well, what they do with the data, how they merge it with other data sets. And I know that I told you at the beginning of this stream that we had 3.5 launches. The half launch, Zach and Yuri are going to come on and talk about this launch. It's not a console product, but it is something we build from AWS that Yuri heads up. So excited for them to show it as well and in support of the Focus announcement.
Perfect. All right, that is a perfect transition to bring those guys on. So, Rick, thank you so much for sharing all the announcements. We're going to do a deeper dive episode probably on the RDS part another time. But as always, Rick, thank you for coming and chatting. And we'll see you next time. And after this brief thing, we'll bring the guys on. So, thanks, Rick. See you later.
Thank you.
Here we go. Hey guys.
Hello.
Hey,
Yuri,
Steph.
it looks
Hey, Zach.
like you're wearing a necklace, but I realize it's just a light on your shirt.
No, it's just a light. It's just a light, and I'm trying to kind of to find the right position so it kind of doesn't appear on my face.
Also, when you were doing that, Zach and I both did it as well.
I'm moving, so I might be moving during the Twitch. So like.
All right, I'm gonna go full focus, or sorry, full FinOps X.
I love it. You're like, well, you had your focus jumper on, and now you've got this. And I love it how like we match that, and then Yuri and Rick match. So we're covering. We clearly got the same style of t-shirts.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
All right.
Give it the muscle see. But yeah, let's dive into it. Like Yuri and Zach have both been on before. Go and check out their past episodes if you want to see more about what they do day to day. But I do want to dive into the focus stuff straight away. And we did have a question before we start, so I'll just bring that up first before we go into a demo and discussion. Is the new KER 2.0 compliant with the focus spec? Will I need to update my KER again in the future? Which I thought I'd saved when Zach came on.
Cool. Yeah, so I can take this one. The KER 2.0 is not compliant with focus. It's a different schema. So if you want your focus schema, you'll have to create the focus export. The KER 2.0 will continue to be, at this time, AWS's kind of most detailed, most proprietary source of cost and usage data. If you're looking for the ability to combine your cost and usage data and standardize it with other sources, then you're going to want to go to focus.
Perfect. All right, great answer. But yeah, before and then as we're jumping into that, I want to just check the scope of the room. Who has heard of Focus? I mean, of course, we just spoke about it, but in general, who has heard of Focus 1 for yes, 2 for no in the chat super quickly? But as that's coming up, Yuri, do you want to give a quick overview of Focus? I look like most people know it, so that's good. So we don't have to go too granular. But yeah, Yuri.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Focus is FinOps cost and usage specification, and it basically what it is. So it's the specification for cost and usage data, which is, let's say, normalized or aligned across all cloud providers or SaaS vendors. So it's basically like a specification or a de facto standard. And I know that foundation folks don't call it a standard, but it's like something that is the same, which will have the same format when we talk about cost and usage data. So imagine that at the moment, if you want to have some consolidated reporting over multiple sources, you need to normalize the data. And Focus is aimed to help with that. And also one additional benefit of Focus, which I really, really like, it also helps to standardize the terminology, standardize the kind of the language which we talk. So it's basically becomes the language of FinOps, right? And because you have like different terminology, like what is amortized, what is unblended, blended, and things like that. In Focus, there is a defined terminology with very clean explanation, and the whole group who works Focus works really hard to make sure that it's clear for everyone, and entry point is quite low.
And if you want to know more, the FinOps Foundation, there's the Focus site there, but there is also a free intro to Focus, which will give you a kind of brief overview if you want to dive in a little bit more. But so we know what Focus is, and then we also, this is now available in data export. But Zach, do you want to go over the different types of things that are in data export, and what does this actually mean that Focus is in there now?
Yeah, so data exports is a service that we launched at the end of last year, 2023, at reInvent. And we started out with just KER 2.0, which provided some advantages over the original KER of, you can choose your columns, you can filter rows. We consolidated the schema a little bit to make it a little bit neater. But when we created it, we had really this vision that this is going to be the place where our customers can go to get all of the billing and cost management data that they need. And we're finally fulfilling and working towards that vision as of last week. So we added, now you can create an export of the Focus 1.0 schema, your cost and usage data with that schema. And then we also added the export that Rick just talked about, the cost optimization hub recommendations data. And so now when you go to the data exports console or use the APIs, here you can configure exports of all 3 of those different types of data.
Amazing. And it's very simple, the same as you would have set up your cost and use report historically. And so go do it. That's probably one of the big tips. Go deploy it and start looking at the data, and you can see how you can utilize it. But if you want to see how you can actually deploy it a little bit easily and then also get some visuals, that is where the dashboard comes in. So obviously, I feel like if you literally search through the language of this podcast, every episode mentions the dashboards. But Yuri, you guys have made the Focus dashboards. So you've built some visuals on top of these and a deployment process, right?
Yeah. So it's the Focus specification is great, right? And the data, and have it in data export, it's amazing. But then comes to how to use it, right? And we want to help customers to actually quickly get up to speed with Focus, and just to get example of how you can quickly enable data exports and how you can quickly visualize this data. So for that, we built a Focus dashboard, which is also in preview together with a data export feature. And we also built a set of basically a CloudFormation template, which customers can use to quickly enable a data export across all their payer accounts, across an entire organization, and deliver in one single place in consolidated S3 bucket. So it's just speeds up and getting started, and it also we are going to expand it in the future, build new versions. So we are very open to hear your feedback. So if anyone deployed the dashboard, if anyone started to use Focus, if you have any feedback, what you would like to add there as well, so let us know. Really open to explore. So it's just getting started, let's say.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And before we go, go on, Zach.
Yeah, I'll just add to that to say the CloudFormation templates are great. They let me and Yuri take care of some of the heavy, and other members of the team take care of some of the heavy lifting for you. When you deploy this template, it creates the export, it does the replication in S3 to the bucket where you're going to consolidate, and it deploys the CloudFormation, the QuickSight dashboard. So this really
Yeah. Let's have a look at it. But before we do, I'm just going to pull up this one question. On a similar note, when will Kudo support Kubernetes? Zach and mine's favorite question to Yuri.
We are working on it, so stay tuned.
Watch this space, guys. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you'll be updated in the near future.
Keep an eye on this. So we are working on that, and we stay tuned. It's in our, let's say, backlog and priority list.
Yeah, the fact that we've got data export Focus working with a cloud intelligence dashboard should be a good sign for everyone.
The other suggestion is we need a Terraform equivalent.
Oh yeah. We that's a good idea. That's a good idea. That's something we like. Terraform, it's always what we want to do. And for cloud intelligence dashboard, at the moment we have a Terraform wrapper on CloudFormation template. So I think we will implement something like that in the future.
Yeah, definitely. Amazing. Okay, so on that, just as a reminder, as I said a second ago, if you keep an eye on the YouTube channel, that's the link for the YouTube channel. Some people are asking in the chat. But yeah, let's get into a demo as we love to. So Yuri, do you want to bring up your screen?
Yes, absolutely. Let me just click share button.
I love that Terraform is like the shout out people. I think that's really funny. Without Terraform, I've got another question. Why are you doing that? Without Terraform, it keeps us from deploying it. So it does block people, because I know people aren't always allowed to deploy CloudFormation, or they have CI/CD pipelines they have to use Terraform for.
All right.
There we go. There we go. Here we go.
So I wanted first to show you a bit of overview how to get started with this, and then we will talk about the dashboard. So here's a step. Would you be able to share the link here?
Yeah, I just shared it.
Okay, good. So like here's where you get started, and that's where we kind of make a bit of introduction. What is the dashboard, and what is important part here is how to deploy it. And the first step how to deploy it is you need to enable data export, what Zach was saying. And that's like what you're going to do when enabling the data export. So you actually enable it in your payer accounts. And we recommend to replicate data in like separate data collection account, or you can call it FinOps account. That's where you are going to visualize the data. We use this data because it's just best practice recommendation, and which we've covered in our session with Steph, that like don't use management account for anything apart from just like required administrative tasks. Move all workloads in linked accounts. And for this, we've built focus data exports consolidation CloudFormation templates, and here is a guide. So huge call out to the whole team, to Petro, to Yakov, Zach contributed as well. So we have here basically support not only for the focus, but we also have a support for KUR 2.0. So it means that with one CloudFormation template, you can enable both, or you can choose which one to enable. So you can say, oh, I want to enable focus, or I want to enable KUR 2.0 and also focus as well. And basically what you need to do to enable this is you run CloudFormation template in your data collection account first time, and you specify list of your payer accounts or management accounts, and then you run the same CloudFormation template, but now in source account. And it will enable your data exports, will deliver it in a S3 bucket locally, and then will also enable a S3 bucket replication to this aggregation account. So that's how you enable data exports. And we also plan to add here support for cost optimization hub in the nearest future. So you will have a way how to just in matter of few clicks enable all this replication and all this setup across all your payer accounts. And during FinOps X, I had a lot of conversations with customers, and everyone has at least 2 payer accounts. So So it's very common scenario. So I would recommend to use it to just speed up your start.
Yeah.
So that's step 1, right? So we have data export in it. And that let's get back to the dashboard. And now we go to the dashboard deployments. And to deploy the dashboard, it's very simple. You go to your data collection account, you open the Cloud Shell, and we have a command line tool which called CID-CMD. And with this CID-CMD tool, you just run this command. So first you need to install it in your Cloud Shell or any other terminal application which you use, and then you deploy the dashboard with this command. So that's like as simple as that. And once you deploy the dashboard, here you are. So that's, let me just refresh the screen. That's what you will see with your data. This is a demo data, but you will see it with your focus data.
Mm-hmm.
So as you can see here, you get started with some high-level KPIs. What was your effective cost in this case 3 months ago, 2 months ago, in previous months? What is the most popular region? How many providers you are using? How many services you are using? How many total accounts you have? Like very, very high-level information. And you can switch how you want to see the cost. And again, in Focus, there are several ways how you can several measures for the cost, either effective cost, or you want to switch, for example, for least cost, and now you can see like the least cost over the last 3 months. Or you want to...
I thought you said least cost, and I was like, you can see the least cost.
Yeah. And then build costs that like you can see actually what amount you get in your invoice. Yes, so maybe we can spend a minute.
Yeah, I was going to say, Zach, do you want to jump in and maybe, if you open up the tab so we can see a list of the different options, do you want to run through what each of these things mean?
Yeah.
These different costs?
Yeah, definitely. So the build cost you can think of as like your actual cash flow, like how much did I pay AWS or whatever cloud provider, depending on who you're receiving this from, in a given billing period. So it represents, how much you're actually, and the way actually that you should think about it is the sum of your build costs should equal the invoice total for whatever provider you're receiving this from for that month. But of course, like a lot of there's instances where you might prepay for something, and you're prepaying because you're going to utilize that thing over the following months or the following year. And a good example for that in AWS are reserved instances and savings plans. You have the option to have upfront payments for those.
And what's that one called?
And so then to see that cost, we have effective costs. So effective costs will actually amortize those costs and show, what was the value of the things that I actually used in this billing period. And so you may see effective costs and build costs differ when you've done some sort of prepayment for an RI or savings plan at AWS. And so those are kind of probably the two most exciting, most important ones. But we also have list costs that Yuri mentioned, which is like, this is the public pricing equivalent of all of the things that I purchased in a given month. And then there's the contracted cost, which is like list cost, but it also includes the effect of any contracted pricing that you might have with the cloud provider.
Amazing. Okay, that's super helpful. So we've only got like 1 or 2 minutes left. Is there anything else? There's one more question in the chat, but is there anything else you guys want to show on this before I go to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to cover that, like in the dashboard. So I would recommend to explore all the visuals that you see, because we actually try to show you like how you can get value out of Focus. So for example, here you can see all your discounts, credits, and adjustments which come out of Focus. So you could see, for example, here's like your effective cost, and then like how much you got of credits, adjustments, then your total discounts, including negotiated and discounts from also like commitment-based discounts. And you can see how much you would pay if you didn't like save all this on all this type of discounts and credits and adjustments. And one more thing, which is very, very interesting, which I wanted to show, is month-over-month trend tab. It allows you to very quickly spot on like the most changing or the moving parts in your organization. So like here you will have different visuals with the trends. And the goal of those visuals to actually help you to quickly see which areas you might need to put more attention. For example, we can see that, oh, here, this account is increasing, for example, in May. So you can interactively select this account. Rest of the visuals would be filtered now, showing the data only for this account. Then you can see which services you have increased in service categories. And you can also see some more detailed data in what's the difference in percent, what's the difference in your currency. And you can switch here in different dimensions. And the most interesting part is that here you have also resource view for the last 30 days of the usage for what you selected. So it allows you to actually like in a matter of few clicks, drill down into just, top cost generators and see, hey, what are those resources are. So like explore the dashboards, give it a try, and let us know what you think.
Perfect. Okay, last 2 questions that we have. Will you be adding options to use Focus data in other dashboards?
Maybe in the dashboards, we have a dashboards where we join like cost and usage data with other sources like pricing information, like inventory. So in those dashboards, I think definitely yes. From other side, for the data which we can source just from Focus, generally I don't see a lot of need for like many dashboards, but maybe in the future, but some very niche dashboards, like something related only to some like marketplace purchases or things like that, when you need to have very narrow focused view. But the beauty of QuickSight is that you can customize everything. So everyone can build their own dashboards based on like either start from scratch, or they can just use our dashboard and build on top. That's another very popular feature which many customers use here.
Amazing. And that's the last one. I'm going to summarize, but what Costa is saying, it'd be helpful for documentation. I know that the other dashboards you can deploy through CloudFormation. Is there, I mean, challenging, a reason why you've done CID rather than CloudFormation for the Focus dashboard?
So it's just the speed of development. So it's for us, it's faster to, so like CID CMD command line tool allows us to plug in dashboards just with configuration. CloudFormation required some additional things. But for least privileges, we have separate CloudFormation, which allows you to deploy all needed permissions before you go with deployment.
Amazing. So while if Richard wants to bring up his share screen so we can do the summary, just people are really enjoying this. So people are saying great work on the dashboard and applause. So well done, guys. But yeah, Richard, if you want to bring up the summary. So if you don't know, we always do See Good Richard, who comes up with a summary of today's episode, which I will read aloud without having seen before. So that's always fun. But while I was saying that, thank you, Yuri and Zach, for coming on. And thanks to Rick earlier for doing this really great summary of FinOps. All right, let's see what... Oh, it's coming up and down. Let's see what Richard has in store for me. If the share screen works. This is always the challenging part, is I have no control, hands off keyboard. One day we'll have to unmask Richard and show who he is in the last minute. Just like Richard. This will be fun. Edit the end. If not, I'll give him another beat and see if we can do it.
When you unmask Richard, you should make him do one of these.
Yeah, so I can write. I don't know, I'm not as funny.
No? Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's the problem, is these are quite witty. And I don't think I can come up with as many quips. On the Taylor Swift episode we had, there were many ones. Here we go. First of all, FinOps X was a swag bonanza. True. My entire spare room is full of swag. There's lots of exciting announcements. Yes, go check out and explore these ones. Let us know what you think. And the last one, data exports and CID compatibility with the Focus. Teamwork makes a dream work. Amazing. And someone just said Richard is Gen AI, right? He's actually a secret robot. Amazing. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining, for chats, for everything. And thank you to my amazing guests. We'll be back next week with more FinOps stuff. So we'll see you then. Bye.